Howard is a veteran of radio. As CEO of Lapides Entertainment, Howard is now managing writers, producers, talk show hosts, authors, comedians, and actors, as well as executive producing a variety of TV shows in the United States and Canada. Howard is the executive producer of VH1's highly successful Celebrity Rehab franchise and managing partner of Dr. Drew Productions. Howard is the guy who will not let you call Dr. Drew.
Yeah, I will.
That's what he told me. He has served as an executive producer for Comedy Central's The Man Show and was also an exec producer of the highly successful show LoveLine for MTV. Please welcome Howard Lapides.
I hear that. I'm going to have my kids Google me.
There's not much there. I've looked.
No,
I tried to find your picture. It wasn't easy.
No, you see, as a manager, we kind of stay in the background. There's so much that we know and so much that we learn. I was offered a book, and this is a true story. I do a lot of work with book agents, and I said to her, I said, do you think this would sell? My 89 Days with Paula Abdul. Sold.
Of course.
But I can't write it.
You're not allowed to. You mean you shouldn't write it?
But I'm not going to let anybody know that I give stuff up. She's nuts, by the way. But did I give that?
We know that already.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. I know that Tim Sabian, who used to be the program director for Howard Stern, told me about a particular anecdote which I can't share on this stage, let alone live streaming. And he said, you can't tell anybody this because it's just, it will result in bad things happening because listeners hear about one thing that happens and then they duplicate it, and all of a sudden you've got 100 bad things happening, and it's
a lot of bad things can happen.
A lot of bad things can happen. Yes, which is why you telling anecdotes on this stage today is going to be tough for me to pull them from you.
You're not going to get anything out of me. First
you
of
know
all,
everybody.
No, I don't. I know Don Barrett's here. That's all you need to know.
Talk about some of the talent you've worked with besides Paula Abdul, who have at least part of their identity in the audio space, and how you work with them.
It was really 89 days. It was actually 93, but 89 is funnier. It's not quite.
That's
90.
true, actually.
Yeah. So, and it was first year of Idol, and it was a great place to be. First year of Idol, because I watched that whole thing develop and come together.
Her craziness hadn't peaked by then.
Yeah, it wasn't even about her. It was about watching how that show, which became a monster, they were falling all over themselves in the first year, trying to figure it out, and trying to stay one step ahead of the page, or one page ahead of the step, or you know what I'm saying. So it was fun to watch, and they did very, very, very well. So it was worth being there. Other people I've worked with, I'm a radio guy. And is there radio people in here? Yeah. By applause. Let's make some noise. What the fuck happened to radio? What did you people do? It was you people did it. Jesus.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, they didn't do it. No, there's nobody in here.
No, the ones in here are the good ones.
Yeah, no, there's no. We know what happened, right?
Talk about that.
Consolidation happened.
Okay, go ahead.
1996 killed the radio star. It wasn't video. Video will never kill a radio star. As long as people have imaginations, we're all in good shape. As long as people have imaginations, we can create content. And it doesn't matter on the content side. It doesn't matter what avenue it's going down or what the delivery system is. We love radio as a delivery system because we got used to it. We probably all started there. But there are so many other, and you're talking about that in this conference. There's all delivery systems. But at the end of the day, what are we sending down that pipe? And what is the audience receiving? And that's what, you guys being radio people, and I feel amongst my own, it's important that you know radio as you learned it is gone, as you learned it, but radio is not gone. There's different methods of doing it. We hear about podcasting. Podcasting on radio, I think, will happen. It's taking the same kind of format and putting into radio and adjusting.
That used to be all radio was podcasts years ago.
Arthur Godfrey was one big podcast.
Yeah.
Anybody know who Arthur Godfrey was? Again, by applause. I got to make some noise in here. Noise is important. Noise, that's what I tell clients. And I learned this from a 60-minute piece that they did with Mel Brooks a number of years ago. And the last thing, I think it was Morley Safer, God bless him, asked Mel Brooks if a young kid comes up to you and says he wants to get into show business, what's the one piece of advice you give him? And they lock on Mel Brooks. And he goes, make a noise. 60 minutes out. Make a noise. And that's what it's all about. It's about making a noise. It's about having that content and we're not talking about volume necessarily. Volume is good, but we're not talking about volume. We're talking about impact and depth and something that people can't get anyplace else, and have it be the only thing available. It's what, as a guy who, what I do is develop people. I'm more of a developmental manager than I am nobody comes to me with a $10 million client and says, hey, you want to pick up 1.5 million and take the gig? I don't get that. What I get is, gee, I'd like to be like Dr. Drew. Could you do that for me? Or
that must happen a lot.
That does happen a lot. I have this room in my office with the fairy dust in it. I call the Drew fairy dust room. You just go down to the fairy dust room, and we'll sprinkle it, and they get pissed if I don't do that.
Uh-huh.
Look, it took Dr. Drew, we did LoveLine over 30 years. Mm-hmm. The crossover to TV and then to become who he is now took 20. Mm-hmm. It's not something you sprinkle.
And he hasn't aged a day in all that time, from what I can
Is that
tell.
good? That's
It's amazing.
Yeah.
How'd you make that happen?
Yeah, I got that room down the hall with the fairy dust.
So how do you develop people?
Again, radio people, you guys have something that's pretty unique, and I was taught this. I was taught by really good people, and I was really lucky to have good people teach me how to hear the radio, how to listen to what I'm hearing, and understand what I'm hearing. And if we're using Dr. Drew as an example, we'll continue. I've been driving down the 101 circa 86. And I turned on LoveLine, first time ever. Mm-hmm. I'm new in town. I came in from Buffalo, New York, after spending a decade in Canada and Boston. And you guys, radio guys, know the run. You just pack up the stuff. I still have stuff packed that I haven't unpacked. I have wine from 1992. I'm afraid of it. I'm driving down the 101, and all of a sudden I hear Drew, and I go, "Oh, Jesus, does this guy know?" Because everything that I was taught was coming through that speaker. He was grabbing me by the throat and making me listen, and I became massively addicted right away. And I said, I have to talk to this guy. Mm-hmm. There's something. There's mountains for this guy to climb, and he can shout from the top of those mountains, and people will know who he is. So I weaseled my way into K-Rock not long after that, and introduced myself, and I said to him, we got to get together for lunch. I was, Mr. Hollywood. We'll go to lunch. And he starts laughing. He says, I don't go to lunch. I'm a doctor. You want to see me, you come to my office and make an appointment, which I did. I went to Pasadena on a Friday afternoon, and I talked to him, and the rest, I suppose, to shorten up the story, the rest is history. He had already signed with 3 different agents. That was a lot of fun. So I had to fire at least 2 of them. The first one I thought that's when I learned you don't take anybody to lunch to fire them, by the way. Don't do that. It ruins the food, everything.
Do you pick up the tab at least?
No.
So
by the way, this hotel, it's the first time I've been here since I threw a TV out the 11th floor.
See? What did I say?
It really happened.
You didn't hear
Boy
me.
George.
You didn't hear me introduce that yesterday,
No.
did you? See?
No, I've been
Boy
avoiding...
George? You and Boy George threw TVs out the window.
Well, yeah, I lifted it. That's a true story.
So how do you go about developing somebody like a Dr. Drew? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, Dr. Drew is a little different.
Maybe I shouldn't say somebody like a Dr. Drew. How do you go about developing a talent?
You see, it's like a fighter. If he's got a really good left hook, you see how that works, and that's what you use. Mm-hmm. You can't do anything or make them something that they're not right away. I say right away. Eventually.
What does that mean? Clarify that.
If Tom Green is making a lot of noise running around malls, just pranking people like crazy, and then painting his parents' house plaid, and putting animals in his parents' house. You just keep doing that until you can't anymore. And we did
Tom
that.
Green.
Tom Green is a guy. Does anybody remember Tom? Again, by some applause, because I talked to him yesterday, and I'm going to want to tell him you applauded. This was really something. We brought him down from Canada. I found this whole thing. We were producing a show called The Mike Bullard Show. It was late night in Canada, the only successful late night show they ever had up there, and competed with all the U.S. shows, and did very well. And we had an office across the street, and I'm walking with the head of the comedy network across the street. We were doing the show from the back of Wayne Gretzky's bar. There was a room there that they did bar mitzvahs and divorces and whatever they could do. And that's where our studio was. And we were killing to get an audience every night. It was not easy. And I'm walking, I see this long line of people. And I said to Ed Robinson, who's the head of the comedy network up there, I said, well, what's with the people? And it's 30 degrees, and they're standing in this line, and there's 4 guys with shirts off that says, "Let us in," and they're eating a head of lettuce. I said, this is not normal. What's happening? And they go, oh, well, that's for this guy, Tom Green, we found. I said, tell me about Mr. Green and about the crazy stuff that he does. And I said, I would like to meet this man now. And I did. And we made a deal almost on the spot. And I took him to MTV and brought him down. And there was nobody doing what he did. He was the first guy to be doing that kind of stuff. Alan Funt was doing a lot of stuff with candid camera, but this was going to a specific audience. We were going, 14 to 19, boom, MTV crowd. I took it to MTV. That was my thought. How do we take this guy? And he was a radio guy, by the way, Tom.
I didn't know that.
He was. Radio and stand-up comedy. Not a lot of people knew that. But he had some basis of something. We took it to our friends at MTV. They flipped over it and put it on the air. And it became an overnight sensation. Brought him down from Canada 6 weeks later. He's on the cover of Rolling Stone. That's not how you develop somebody. It's way too fast. But you take what they do, and what he did was he was identifying to a demographic that pranking the parents was their dream, and he did it. So he drew that audience. So we just kept grinding it and grinding it and grinding it.
That was his left hook.
That was his left hook.
You mentioned delivery systems
Yep.
and how focusing on any one delivery system is seeing the world wrong. Can you talk about that?
Well, it used to be, radio. I loved finding people in radio because taking radio people to TV was fun. I'll talk about that for a second, and then we'll get into the rest of the delivery systems. But my little secret was if somebody was telegenic and they were damn good on the radio, it was a layup. Now, there's not a lot of people that are like that. But we were able to do it with Jimmy Kimmel, Adam Carolla, Carson Daly, and get them into television. And the dirty little secret was when they would audition for a hosting job or something in TV, they were faster than anybody because they were radio guys. Radio people, every 3 minutes, you better have it. And have it in order and be able to do it in 6 seconds. Valerie Geller, I watched her piece the other day. She was talking about, how do you get it done in 6 seconds? Well, that's what you do that in front of a TV guy. They go, how did this guy fall from the earth? The radio people.
The discipline.
Yeah, you have the discipline of, the record's over, perform, pal. And that was the secret of moving them to TV. And then, then we start watching the death of radio. We start watching the death of television. Network TV started to die. Now we're seeing the unplugging of cable. But it's all about people are finding different ways to find different kinds of content, and they're consuming it differently. That's okay. But the key word, as they said, is content. Don't stop creating. You find out what they're looking for. That's pretty simple. Ask. There's research available. You're an asker.
That's right.
That's what you do. and you know the audience will tell you. You know that. So it's take advantage of where you can find the information. The audience will speak to you, and then you just do it.
So how important is it for, again, companies that have built their financial model on the broadcast side, let's say, to spread their talent across these platforms? I mean, does the business model work that way? Or is this really more of a talent-centric model?
Look, here's what's not happening. It is a little bit, but I call it the rat in the maze theory. Let's say let's pretend there's a company called iHeartRadio. And I'm pretending because they're $20.9 billion in debt, so they're really not a company. So let's pretend there's a company called iHeartRadio.
I'm just trying to remember if there's anyone in the room who's offended by that. I don't know.
You know, video killed the radio star. Bob was in the room. He didn't invent MTV. I said it. All right. Let's get Tom Frusted on the phone.
Woo! Okay, it's getting hot in here now.
What's he going to do to me?
It's not you I'm worried about.
Oh, it was me.
Go ahead.
What was the question?
Well, the
No, I'm kidding.
delivery system. You know, what is a broadcast company?
I was doing the rat in the maze. So you've got iHeart, and they've got whatever many radio stations they've got, and each radio station has the ability to put up a website, and each radio station has the ability to have podcasts. You know, so everybody put up a website and started streaming their signal, which was ridiculous. The signal's over here, and they're streaming it over here. They realized there's a way to do something else in that space. You have this free, virtually free website, virtually free. It's not free, but it's, as opposed to putting up towers and stuff, so put some content down there that you can sell. And then have that content talk about the content you've got on the radio.
So in other words, apart from, different from what's on the air.
Everything should be different, but once you get, even in a marketplace like, we were talking about iHeart, a marketplace like LA where they've got 8 stations, I think. They can, and their number 1 station is KISS, right? Do I have it close?
Probably.
And, everybody's got a number 2 button. So what makes people go from the primary, which let's pretend is KISS, and what drives them to the second button? Or what would drive them to a podcast? Something will. But if they get there, let it be theirs. In other words, the rat stays in the maze. They know it's there because they were told it's there. If they get tired of this, go over here. And then if you get tired of that, go over here. Or if you really like this guy, wait till you hear his podcast over here. So it's keeping them together. And then finding a way, the trick, of course, is monetization. Does anybody here know how to really monetize anything but radio and TV? No. Damn. How are we going to do that?
So, in a sentence, the future, as a guy who kind of grew up on the radio side, the future of radio is what?
It's going to be more linear. It's going to reflect.
More linear.
It's going to reflect. We're seeing. Look, podcasting only made $34 million last year. That's not a lot of money, but it's there. And Adam Carolla is doing extraordinarily well, and Dr. Drew is doing extraordinarily well. And if you listen to how they do it, it's different than listening to the radio. If you take that and transpose it into the other delivery, the radio delivery system, I think that there's a future in that. The trick is, the 16 spots an hour. How do you do that? Well, you give up. You get down to, again, you sell it like, if you're selling a product on a podcast, sell it like you use it yourself and like you own it, and it's not. It cannot look or feel or smell like radio. It damn well is radio, but it has to. The model has to change, and it has to be. People, we know people are consuming pod, and we know that they can do it. I'm from the. It should be a shorter pod than a longer pod. People are in their cars for a certain amount of time. It's all going to the dashboard in seconds. It's all going to be in the dashboard. It's in the dashboard now. So it's competing, so it's easy for them to consume and get. But make it yours that they're going for.
Howard, thank you so much for being here
We're
today.
done?